to negotiate your peaceful surrender.
I'm not peaceful. Nor do I surrender.
It's his darkness that lets him do what heroes cannot.
The battle you're meant to fight is upon us.
There's no one on this planet that can stop me.
Black Adam, I saw it last weekend, pretty soon after the premiere. I'm going to give my review on it. I'm not going to shred it. I'm not going to pedestalize it either. I'm going to try to dissect it in an objective manner. So hopefully you enjoy it. Like, comment, share, subscribe, please. Most of my viewers are not subscribers. I know the channel's pretty new, but if you like my videos and if you keep coming back, you might as well go ahead and subscribe. So let's get right into it. So Black Adam, there will be some spoilers in this, but I'll give you a little spoiler alert in case you want to avoid them if you haven't seen it yet. So in order to understand Black Adam, you have to understand the context of the timeline of which Black Adam has appeared in the DC universe. Long story short, management at WB has really done a horrible job from the fans' perspective of telling a continuous story, telling a story of continuity with their amazing characters that they have. If you look at Marvel and you look at DC, Marvel, the analogy I can come up with is Marvel is that student that you remember that always had their stuff done, always had their assignments done on time. They were all safely tucked away in the front of the folder, and they had everything ready. DC is kind of like looking at Marvel and trying to copy answers. DC will wait and procrastinate until the very last minute and see what Marvel has done, then try to duplicate it. So DC is competing. They're trying to shift the market towards them, from Marvel to DC. So that is the context in which Black Adam has come on the scene. One of my biggest dislikes about Black Adam, the movie, was The Rock. He doesn't look like Black Adam at all. If you look at the comic book adaptations of Black Adam, he has hair, he has pointed ears, but The Rock just looks like The Rock. So I had a hard time. I just saw The Rock in a costume and I didn't see Black Adam, if that makes sense. If you look at the comic book adaptations or the animated movie adaptations of Black Adam, he has the generally the same image, and The Rock doesn't fit that image. So if they made a comic book accurate version of Black Adam with The Rock, he'd look something like this. Now that looks kind of odd because nobody's going to convince The Rock to wear a wig or pointy ears. I wouldn't try to convince him, but you can kind of see how he doesn't look like Black Adam. Did this take away from the movie? Not a whole lot. I can be overly analytical sometimes, but I think you should be if you're going to give a movie review. So he didn't look like Black Adam. Another thing that I felt took away from the movie was the acting quality. There are a lot of times, well, The Rock specifically, in my opinion, he's not really the best actor. He's more of a spectacle. So he doesn't, his body acts for him. His presence acts for him. So there's scenes in the movie where he'll just do this smoldering look, kind of like on the joke on Jumanji. But he'll do this look and he doesn't seem to emote that much. He doesn't emote. So the whole story is like he's supposed to be born out of rage, born out of sorrow, born out of grief. But he just has this, he has this general monotone presentation, and he doesn't emote very well in the movie. Some of the writing seemed to be lacking. So Pierce Brosnan's first words when he sees Black Adam are,
"You have two choices: surrender or die."
I'm like, that's it? You ain't give him no third? Like, hi, at least say hello. Like that's it. So some of this, I know it's a superhero movie, but some of the dialogue was pretty unrealistic and kind of choppy too. Most of the special effects in the movie were pretty up to par, in my opinion. However, at the end, the main antagonist, his CGI was not that good, in my opinion. He looked like a red gummy bear with horns, a ripped red gummy bear with horns. I was like, wow. Like, just even watching a movie, he looked real plasticky, just real rubbery. It didn't look very real. Did it take away from it? A little bit. I think they could have done a better job of fleshing out the backstory. It started off with showing the backstory in Egypt and blah, blah, blah. But I think they could have spent a little more time fleshing out the backstory so we could have been linked to his character emotionally a little bit more. And speaking of backstories, they could have done a better job at fleshing out the backstory of the Justice Society. So Pierce Brosnan, Aldous Hodge, I forgot the two other people's names. But we've never seen them before, and then they show up, and a little bit of a spoiler alert. So if you don't have an emotional tie to a character, it makes it a lot harder to feel something if they get snuffed out in the movie. They didn't flesh out the backstory. And this is one way that Marvel has done a very, very good job that DC hasn't. Imagine Avengers being the first movie of phase 1. Like, it doesn't make sense. Avengers meant so much because they had fleshed out the backstory of each individual character in their own personal movie. So when they come together, it's like it creates anticipation. So it's like, gosh, I've seen this person in their individual movie, this person in their individual movie, this person in their individual movie. I wish they would if they could just come together, like we know what's going to happen. And then when it happens, it's like, oh my gosh, it's like fireworks. But you're creating a team up movie in Black Adam because you got the Justice Society with people that you've never seen before. And it kind of makes for a hollow performance. Was Black Adam a good movie? I'd say it was okay. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'll give it a strong 6.5, maybe a weak 7. It was good escapist entertainment. It was very entertaining. It was visually entertaining. Despite the stuff that I'm saying about the lack of acting quality on The Rock's part and the lack of fleshed out backstories, it was still a pretty good movie. It served its purpose. The Black Adam is basically supposed to be the saving grace of the DC universe. They're supposed to try to create something that's somewhat new, kind of forge a path for the future for DC. So this has been in the works for such a long time. The Rock was, the first time he was associated with the role was in 2007. 07, George W. Bush was still in office. So when they, like I was saying earlier, he doesn't look like Black Adam, but when they first started talking about him playing the role, he looked more like Black Adam. He had hair. He was slimmer too. Then he officially got linked to the role in 2014. Still quite a while ago. So now it's 2022 and he's finally playing the role. So this has been in the works for quite a while. And to my understanding, The Rock has really spearheaded a lot of things about this movie. And that brings me to one of the biggest spoilers. So if you don't want to hear any spoilers, just go ahead and exit out. I do appreciate what The Rock has done for the DC universe because of this. In the post-credit scene, you get a really, really, really big treat. He's talking to Amanda Waller, and she's basically telling him, like, hey, if you don't stay in check, if you don't stay put, I'm going to have to snuff you out. And he said, there's nobody on this planet that can stop me. And she's like, well, I can send for people from off this planet that can stop you. He says, send them all. And then you see this smoke, and then you hear a voice, very familiar voice. It says, it's been a long time since someone has made the world this nervous. Black Adam, we should talk. And it's none other than Superman, but not just any Superman, Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill. The fans have been wanting Henry Cavill to come back as Superman for the longest. He played Superman in 2013's Man of Steel, and he hasn't had another solo Superman film. We've wanted Man of Steel 2 for a long time. It's coming up on a decade. Like I said, Warner Brothers leadership has done a horrible job. They have been keeping Henry Cavill at arm's length, and they had never said that he was coming back as Superman. And they were spearheading trying to get a black Superman movie done. There's nothing wrong with a black Superman movie. If you remember my first video on this channel, the Little Mermaid movie, I talk about the concept of race swapping well-established characters. In DC, there is a black Superman named Val Zod. He's in a different universe. He's black. He had black parents on Krypton. They sent him here to Earth just like Superman, and he has all the powers of Superman, but he's black. Walter Hamada and the DC people, they didn't want Henry Cavill to come back as Superman. They wanted to have a black Clark Kent, not black Val Zod. They wanted to make Clark Kent black all of a sudden. And Walter Hamada, based on what The Rock has said, wanted a black Superman, black Clark Kent, to be in the cameo at the end of Black Adam. So cameos usually involve characters that you are somewhat familiar with. And it's like, oh, that's so-and-so. So can you imagine if, like, that scene that we just talked about, and then a black dude wearing a Superman costume show up, and it's like, who is that? Who is that? It's like sheer and utter negligence of the source material on Warner Brothers' part. So apparently they shot that the Rock's portion of that post-credit scene, and in the hopes, in faith that they would be able to get Henry Cavill back. And then after they shot it, Walter Hamada got ousted, and they got their new people in, and they eventually got Henry Cavill back, and it was like a last-minute thing, that shot. And it went over amazing. When I saw it, people were really, really happy to see Henry Cavill, and a lot of the reactions I've seen are sheer joy. Like, he's a really, really good Superman, and that's what the fans have wanted, and that's what the fans have finally gotten. So I do appreciate The Rock for spearheading that and trying his hardest to get that to happen, because he wants ultimately a Black Adam versus Superman movie, and I don't know how that go, but I'm just glad that he did everything in his power to try to keep the Snyderverse going, because Henry Cavill basically represented the Snyderverse. Like, if you bring in another Superman, it's just going to be a completely different animal. You got to have that same Superman. You got to have that same Superman. So altogether, I give Black Adam I give it a 7 out of 10. It was a good movie. I enjoyed it. I might actually go see it again because it's been a while since a pretty good super movie has come out. And regarding the Black Superman, one other thing to consider is this. I find it very ironic, kind of interesting how Walter Hamada has consistently been accused of racism and discriminatory practices by multiple people, but very specifically Ray Fisher, who played Cyborg in Justice League, a black man. He's been accused of being racist and being discriminatory, but he was so driven to have a black Clark Kent / Superman. Does that seem kind of fishy to you? Like, what really matters? Like, how you're treating people in real life or race swapping a character? I wasn't there. I don't know if he's racist. I'm just going based on what people who are around him have experienced him, have said. But it's just kind of interesting. Like, you got people calling you racist, but then you have a fiery passion for changing the race of a character who's been around for like 100 years. Like, what? I think that people race swapping a character doesn't really mean much. It's like throwing a bone to somebody. How many black people have you heard clamoring for a character to be changed to black? How many times have you heard people in the past few years say, gosh, we just really want Clark Kent to be black? Have you ever heard that? Like, nobody's asking for that. Nobody. So, like, nobody wants it. Why would you give fans something that they're not asking for? You got to give fans something that's new, something that's fresh, something that they've never seen before, or you got to tell old stories in a different way. So Walter Hamada really was so driven to present a black Superman. Why didn't he just make a Val Zod movie instead of a black Clark Kent / Superman? I don't know. You tell me. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Put your comments down there. I want to hear what you have to say about this movie. Let me know what you think. Put on a scale of 1 to 10 what you think Black Adam was. So thank y'all for coming back to my channel, 2 Cents. This is where we talk about both sides of the coin. Appreciate you. Bye.